Hey guys, this video is from our latest Rick and Johnny podcast. Make sure to check out the full podcast on blogtalkradio.com/Rick and Johnny. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I know Johnny and I had fun recording it.
This podcast is brought to you by Most Valuable Podcasts, saving your day from boredom with the best podcasting entertainment.
What's up, everybody? Ricky Widmer here, along with fellow man-child Johnny Karlic. And this is our double podcast, Our review podcast for this week is we went ahead and saw The Mummy. First thing I want to say right out the gate, spoilers all over the place. Spoilers! It's in the title. I'm saying it right now. We're going to spoil the shit out of this. So, you've been warned. Basically, you've been warned.
Can't get mad if you don't see it. Can't get mad if you see this before the movie.
How we kind of do this is we kind of talk about general thoughts of the movie, what we thought here, some interesting things, and then at the end we give our rating out of 5 somethings. This is going to be 5 curses. We're going to rank it out of 5 curses, and then we're going to give our Show Stealer Award or Showstopper Award, whatever.
Stealer.
The person who stole the show the most and is the MVP of The Mummy. But Johnny, this was a movie where the first thing I want to start with this one was it had so much hype.
It did.
It had so
Huge
much
amount of hype.
Like, and I don't know if it was the same for everyone, and if it wasn't for you, let me know down below in the comment section. But for me, maybe it was because for the last how many weeks before this movie, you and I talking about the Dark Universe, how Dr. Jekyll fits into the movie. Talked about we've talked about this universe, this dark universe, so much that I was excited and hyped for this movie. Coming in, and I'm like, I knew that the reviews were kind of not so positive, but I'm like, please be good. Please be. I've been hyped for this universe because maybe it's because we've talked about it so much.
That does add to it.
But leaving this movie, that hype didn't pay off, and I left disappointed. I don't know how you felt, but that's how I was at the beginning of this movie. So hyped, and then disappointed at the end. Just disappointed. Did you have the same feeling?
No, I thought it was an okay movie. Now, I wouldn't say fantastic.
No, I thought it was okay.
I mean, there were parts that could have been revised and redone, and as we talked about in the car and stuff like that,
well, we're going to talk about here.
We're going to talk about now, too. But we already I'm saying we already talked about it. It could have had...
We've briefed each other.
We could have had more of the Mummy in it.
Exactly. Well, and that was one of my biggest kind of things against this movie, and I hit a lot, where that was number one. It was called The Mummy, but it should have been called The Soldier, because it wasn't about the mummy. It was about the Soldier of Fortune. It was more about Tom Cruise and his character than it was about the mummy. It was more about, really what they should have called this is Welcome to the Dark Universe, because that's what it seemed like. And the thing that
Dark Universe and intro.
I'm just gonna really quickly get my bullet points out there, and then I want to hit each of them if that's okay with you.
Sure, we can do that.
The first one was the mummy wasn't the main focal point.
Yeah,
and was kind of like a side piece to. Let's fucking set up the universe. Number 2, I felt like this movie tried to be too many different genres at one time. Tried to be a monster movie. Tried to be a little bit of a horror movie with its jump scares. Tried to be a full comedy movie at times. I know you need comic relief, but it tried to be too much of a comedy at sometimes. It tried to be an action movie at sometimes. There were so much thrown in that it just felt like gobbledygook. In that kind of a sense. That was number 2. Number 3, why, Russell Crowe and Mr. Hyde, I felt like maybe the scene with actual Eddie Hyde, maybe we didn't need that. And that's something we're going to talk about. That was number 3. But the only other thing I can think of is backtracking to that one point in a way of, this movie was just to set up the universe, and there were so many things that it detracted from the actual mummy and shouldn't have been called the Mummy at all.
Okay.
Really, okay, 2 points. 2 big points that are circling through my head. I felt like I had more walking out of the theater, but the Mummy wasn't the main point. And the second one of just, it felt like it was too much at one time. It felt like it was too much. And I even mentioned that to you, and you felt like right after the movie, you didn't see that in a way.
Yeah, I think this is one of those movies where...
Character development.
Okay.
That was I was like, I knew there's
something else.
Character development. But going back on that point, I felt it was too many genres, and I know you didn't feel the same.
No,
way.
I mean, actually, this is probably one of those movies. Most of them, we kind of, you can see in the past ones, we kind of agreed on them a lot.
Yeah.
It's probably going to be one we don't see eye to eye on
disagree
this.
on, and this is probably going to be my worst reviewed movie that we've done so far.
But my thing with, I'm going to first hit on your, it was too many things at once.
Yes.
Because it's simple as,
yes.
Monster movies, back when they came out, were also horror movies.
Yes.
So what you're calling a monster and a horror movie, kind of the same genre.
Then put those together.
Yeah, we'll put those together.
So it was a monster horror movie, and action movie, and a comedy.
I can only semi agree with you when you say they tried to be a comedy. I think they just tried to throw in too many comic relief points.
Which made me feel like you're trying to, maybe it was the word I'm looking for, out of those genres.
Yeah.
There were too many of those tropes in this movie.
Maybe there are too many tropes. There are too many.
Where it's and kind of going off, this creates a fourth point that I forgot about. And I said this immediately after the movie to you. I never felt like a constant story. I felt
that
like,
one I completely agree with you on.
I felt like the story was very and chopped up. Like chopped up into bits and pieces. Yeah, together kind of made a movie, but overall it was kind of like, and here are the distinct different pieces.
I felt like that in the intro.
Yeah, and I mean,
there was too many like chopped points in the intro, because what did we get? There was something before we got.
So they showed, like, here's the bits and pieces.
Yeah.
They show us about the stone.
Yeah.
So they show us the Crusaders with the stone.
Yeah.
They tell us the backstory of Amuned.
Yeah.
They then kind of look into.
They did like an almost like right before they did Amuned's story, they did like the semi-intro thing where they showed like stuff from what's the group called?
The Russell Crowe's group.
Yeah, whatever Russell Crowe's.
Pandigian or whatever?
The Pandigian.
Whatever
it's called.
Pandigian.
First, why did we, like, my thing, I agree with you in the choppiness when it comes to Knights Templar.
Yes, because they found the tomb.
All of a sudden, yeah, well, here's the thing. Knights Templar, all of a sudden.
They find the Knights tomb.
In, like, semi-intro thing, and then we go over to Amunet's story. We probably could have rearranged that a little bit and made it more continuity and flowing.
I got what they were trying to do with that.
I get it, but
it's like,
it didn't work well.
And they also had like those bits and pieces of like BBC News and stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's not needed.
No, that semi-intro in the beginning wasn't needed. We could have done something else. And those pieces could have been kind of put somewhere else in the movie, and it would have made a lot more sense. It's a continuity flow up until like Amunet's story is over. Like up until that point, even I can kind of maybe see starting off with Amunet's story, even how they did. But it's like that the whole intro did not flow into the movie. That's where I saw the choppiness. Once the movie got through all that, I kind of got like, okay, now it's starting to flow kind of.
You know,
that's what I felt.
You know what I think we should have done if I'm rearranging that right now in my head?
Yeah.
Because it shows the quote. This quote about like the afterlife from an Egyptian pharaoh.
Yeah.
Right then, I would have started with the Amunet story. Just hearing Russell Crowe's voice and kind of seeing the story of the mummy.
Yeah.
Of her backstory.
That would have worked perfectly.
Then kind of playing that into the kind of reversed of how you had it. Play the mummy story. Then it kind of like focuses out and he's standing there in the tomb.
Yeah.
He's standing there in the tomb because he knows the stone is there. Like the Crusader part's the only one where I don't know. Maybe you put the Crusader one first and then the Amunet story and then something with Russell Crowe. Or not even that Russell Crowe standing in the tomb at all. I mean, you could have them just find that later and still be able to do that. But that wasn't my big. Just overall, I felt like the story was very segmented in chops, and I felt like that kind of went into the different kind of genres, because it was like, okay, you're trying to be a monster movie. Of course you are. You're setting up a monster horror universe. But it was all thrown together kind of piece by piece and not connected.
Yeah.
And another thing that was brought up, I know in the car we were watching, because usually I stay away from his reviews.
Yeah.
Because most of them are negative, and I was actually thinking about this while watching the movie, was usually most of our reviews have been on the brighter side.
Yeah, more positive.
Like, if we're giving a movie a bad review, it's like 3 out of 5.
That was the worst we've done so far.
That's a bad review for us. And we've never had one that's been 0 or 1. And we were watching Movie Bob's review, and he brought up a point that I didn't think about until after the movie, hearing him say it. It's funny how, of course, Universal's getting on the bandwagon that DC and Marvel have now been on, building a universe. And Marvel, of course, they did it right. They're the ones that created the whole universe thing. How did they do Iron Man 1? How'd they do it?
It was based on Iron Man.
It was based on Iron Man. You focused in on Iron Man, and then in an after credit scene, oh, by the way, there's other heroes like you. And bam, the universe is set up. This movie was like, hey, there's a mummy, but let's push her over to the side. Where's this Pangigium thing that is going to set up this universe? Hey, there's Swamp Thing's hand. Ooh, there's a vampire skull.
Yeah, and that's
Ooh,
stuff,
is that Frankenstein?
And I agree, that stuff didn't need to be focused on. Those little like things
Should have been like Easter eggs in the background.
I mean, I can get the direction they went in, because do you want to exactly copy someone who already did it and just be considered, oh, they're just copying the same exact. So I get wanting to set up.
Here's the point I have on that, and this is where I'm going to interject. The only thing I have against that is I kind of think of the saying that I believe it goes, why fix what isn't broken? If
it ain't broke, don't fix it.
If someone else did it and it worked, why go away from that just to be different when we're having this conversation? Like, with something like that, I think that is something to where it's like, if you would have just did it like Marvel did, because we even found the reference in Thor 1 when they're walking through kind of the undercrypt of Asgard. You see
Thor's trophy room.
Yeah, you see in the background, ooh, there's the Infinity Gauntlet. Ooh, there's that relic. There's this relic. There's that one. But they don't focus in on them like, bam, that's it. It's just kind of like them walking by kind of a thing.
No, and I agree. There's stuff with that they could have done. And I get what they're. I'm trying. Like, there was, and while thinking about it, it's like, okay, I kind of get the direction they wanted to go in. They wanted to set that Indigium,
Pandigium.
Get a different name, please. I'm sorry.
I love how after we saw it was like, I don't care what Latin it is. It's too hard to say.
I'm sorry. They just need to get a different name for it. It's cool that they're trying to do something like that, but get a different name. Anyways, I'm not going to fault it for that.
You're not going to harp on that too
No,
much.
I'm not going to harp on it. I'm not going to fault it for that. What they should have done. Oh, yeah. So we went with Iron Man 1.
To think a little bit.
I forgot where we were for a second.
It's late, guys.
I get it that they don't want to do like that. As you think, they should have done it the Iron Man 1 way.
Yeah.
And there should have been more mummy with it. I completely agree with that.
Well, it's called The Mummy.
And I know. But let's think of it this way, too. Think of the first and second Mummy movies. We didn't have a lot more mummy than we did in this one.
Yeah, but we also...
It was all Brendan Fraser,
no. But that's not...
But what?
That is not the harp we're going on. You can take those two main characters... and still not have the mummy be the main focus, have them be it, and be a mummy movie. The thing that this one did... and what threw it all off was trying to set... Like, they focused too much on setting up the universe to where they should have just said... Let's focus in on the mummy and set the universe at the end. Because it looked like to me what they were trying to do is, here's the universe. We are going to set it up. Oh, and by the way, the mummy's here.
See,
by the way, the mummy's the first one we're going to start with. And I even said this to you after we saw the movie, was I feel like they can fix this.
Okay.
This can be fixed.
Yeah.
However, if they do fix it, I feel like this movie is going to kind of be like The Hulk or Iron Man 1, where we look back on it and we kind of don't think of it. We don't think, like, when you say great, like, what's your top 3, top 5 Marvel Cinematic Universe movies, you're not going to throw Iron Man 1 in there. I wouldn't. I'm not going to throw Iron Man 1 in there.
It started everything off, so...
Yeah, no, but in that sense, that's the only thing it did. Otherwise, it was just an Iron Man movie.
Yeah, but I have to ask you this, really. I mean, how do you really, in a maybe 30-second clip or less, set up the Indigium?
Or the Pandigium?
Whatever the hell it's called. How do you set up that group in only 30 seconds or less?
Well,
it's really hard to.
I'm not saying 30 seconds or less.
Well, you said kind of like the same way Iron Man did.
Here's what they could have done. This is what I would have done. Have most of the movie, maybe 3/4 of the movie, be about the mummy. Maybe even half of it.
Okay.
About the mummy. Then have at the end, like after the kind of credit scene of... Because you'd have to change characters in this sense of what they're doing. The character that was played by Annabelle Wallis, who was Jenny, you'd have to change her. She's no longer equipped with the Pandigium group. You would have her, the same character, along with Tom Cruise. However, I would have them at the end. And then having Russell Crowe kind of explain everything. Explain, like, you maybe have them in it, like, hey, we're Pandigium, but don't have everything focused in on them all the time. Like, even that fight with, like I said, Tom Cruise and Russell Crowe.
Yeah.
I felt like that wasn't needed. And I know how I asked you, was it needed? And you kind of threw out, I loved how you threw up the softball of like, well, is anything needed? Was anything really needed? Which I love that argument in a way, because that's really this person saying, I got nothing.
Well, no.
I got nothing
Let me ask you,
so
though.
I'm going to throw that out at you.
I'm going to ask you, though. I mean, because I will ask, is everything in the movie that's in there needed? Because sometimes you just have to throw parts that you can enjoy in there, and they don't have to be in there, but they were good, so they threw it in. So that's why I enjoyed it. I enjoyed that part a lot.
I thought it was a fun fight sequence, but with, like, and here's the fine line.
Yeah.
This is the fine line. If it was a favorable movie and we liked it, would have never questioned it. But because it was not a solid, rock solid movie, we question stuff like that. And the reason I look at it is the thing that Marvel does great, and I'm going to reference this back to Marvel a lot because they are the ones that started this. We talk about DC and they have potholes in their universe.
Yeah.
Dark Universe, Universal has just kind of, in my mind, has started to cement maybe Marvel's the only one that should be doing this universe thing because they are the creators of it. It's kind of like, I'm going to use a sports reference for you.
Okay.
It's kind of like the triangle offense that Phil Jackson ran with the Bulls. Worked great in Chicago, but then he brought it over to New York recently. Doesn't work quite as well. Like, just because Marvel did it and it was able to work doesn't mean it's going to work for monster movies. Because like I mentioned to you after we saw it, obviously after we saw it, we didn't talk during the movie. Duh, Ricky. However, after we saw it, I even mentioned to you, how are we linking in the other movies? Because this movie cemented it that it is present day. And if you already have Swamp Thing's hand, that's in the past. If you already have Frankenstein's skull, that's in the past. How are you going to link all these together? How? And I know that, I mean, Tom Cruise's character at the end of the Soldier of Fortune, he kind of has the life and death, like
set powers now,
set powers where he's a monster, and like Russell Crowe says, sometimes you need a monster to fight a monster. But I just feel like if the story was more solid and we had a more concrete woven story, I would have never mentioned that scene as being like, well, did we need that scene? because the story would have been so rock solid to where I wouldn't have minded it.
I guess it was sort of, at the same time, I'm thinking in some senses it was an escape scene for the Mummy too.
If your foundation isn't strong, everything above it will fall.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm just trying to say, we did get, like, again, I'm going to bring it back to you. It's going to kind of tie in with another one of your bullet points. The other Mummy movies, like you said, and we both agreed we didn't get as much Mummy in this as we'd like, but I'm going to bring it back again to you. The Brendan Fraser ones, we got maybe a little more Mummy than we did in this one. And don't tell me just because it's Brendan Fraser and all the other stuff that it made it a good Mummy movie. No, we had about the same tropes about the Mummy curses as we did with the other one. We had the crows. I'll just say it this way. We had a shit ton of little things of, these are Mummy curses. These are parts of Mummy curses. We even brought back the sand face thing. So it's like it's not like we didn't get a bunch of the Mummy. We didn't get as much as we'd like.
Here's what I'm going to say to that.
And can I throw one last part in there? You said it was too many genres. Isn't a Mummy movie supposed to be kind of an action movie too, just like in that one?
I'm not saying it's supposed to be like you were supposed to stick to one genre and that's what you're supposed to do. Oh, I know.
I'm just saying though.
That's why I threw in the trope word.
Yeah.
Where I felt like there were, from the director, there were too many of these kind of tropes from these different genres thrown in there to where it's like, whoa. It's kind of like when you're eating a food.
Okay.
You're eating something and it's got a lot of flavors in there. And usually these are like not the greatest of meals. And you take that first bite and you're like, whoa, okay, what am I tasting? There's a little bit of this in there, a little bit of that in there. Whoa, okay, that was a lot. Let me just think about what I tasted. That's what this movie was. There are ways to do the different genre thing, kind of like in cooking. There are ways to use multi-flavors. Think about the good foods that you may have, where you think and you're like, okay, that's good. That tastes, there's an aftertaste, something that wasn't there right away.
Yeah.
This movie was option A, where you're sitting there going, well, that's a lot of different flavors that I'm working with, and I can't really gauge onto one of them. The thing that I think, and the reason why we can't use the past mummies as a true like comparison to this, is those Mummy movies were its own. It was Mummy 1, Mummy 2, Mummy 3, boom, they are off on their own. This, and maybe this goes back to the point I mentioned at the beginning of the review of the hype train for the Dark Universe.
Okay.
Because this is a part of something bigger, and because we've had this more hype than I would say for the Mummy. Like, the Mummy was just, like, the Brendan Fraser Mummy was just like, here's a Mummy movie. It's called The Mummy. It's going to be good. Brendan Fraser's in it. That's basically how it was.
Yeah.
Nowadays, this was supposed to be, oh, we're bringing back the monster movies. We're making this big universe. We're going to go with a serious tone. Like, there's going to be comedy in there, but, like, this is going to be like a serious tone to the the Universal Dark Universe, Monster Universe. And I think that hype that they had with the universe was too much. And part of me also felt like, and I mentioned this to you also after we saw the movie, was part of me wonders when the universe idea popped into their heads.
Yeah,
because it almost felt like this movie was Mummy. Oh, there's a universe, which could make sense to your discombobulation at the beginning.
Yeah,
because think about if there was never a universe, that beginning would have been the Crusader scene, Amunet story.
Yeah,
we just would have had a different narrator.
Yeah, I mean. It would have made more sense to just get rid of. Honestly, it would have probably made more sense in the beginning, made it lot less choppy if we just got rid of that little intro-ish type thing.
You're talking about when they did Universal, and then it kind of turned. It was like Dark Universe.
No, that was before even. That was before everything. Remember when they started like flashing like I'm trying to think of the BBC stories. And
all that news stories,
and all that stuff.
The second one, the one right after the Crusaders,
right before Amunet, but right after. Yeah, that wasn't needed. That was not necessary.
I mean, the only reason that would have, like, the only reason I could argue for that it was needed, was they found the tomb. The news stories were not. All it had to be simple, and all it had to be was basically you see them like find a tomb. Yeah. And shortly after, the Pangingian guys come in, and it's just like, oh, why are you here? Boom. Here's your papers. Leave. Yeah. Could have cut half that scene. He could have cut that scene in half, and it would have worked. All you needed from that was that Pandigian found it, and they know where the ruby is. Yeah. Because let's be honest, we all knew the ruby. Like, as soon as they found that, it's like, okay, there's the ruby. It's in one of those fuckers. Yeah, it's in one of those. Crack that thing open. Let's find it. Yeah. Kind of a thing. And I just kind of feel like my biggest kind of sore spot in this movie is I feel like they focus too much on setting up the universe. That's the one that, like, if I'm going with my number one, that if I'm ranking what this movie did wrong, because there's not a lot that it did right, in my mind. Like, there's a few, like, the list of good is a lot shorter than the list of negative in me. And number one would be you tried to set up the universe and make that your main focus when there could have been a healthy balance, or you could have done the Iron Man thing, focusing on the mummy and then kind of even like continue the hype, have a mummy movie, and then at the end just have Russell Crowe's character like Nick Fury. We're Pandigian. We're going to find these monsters. Yeah. We're gonna control these. Like, that's to me like Pandigian already being an established force. You're taking all the excitement away from me.
Well, so is S.H.I.E.L.D.
Well, no, with S.H.I.E.L.D. it was they were there, but let's be honest, S.H.I.E.L.D. wasn't really that important. What was more important is, hey, there's other heroes like you. I want you to help me find them. Yeah. This could have been after Tom Cruise got his powers. Hey, you have powers now. You are the soldier of fortune. There are other monsters just like you. I want you to help me find them. I want you to help me find them and contain them so that they don't cause havoc on this world like the mummy did. That's what it could have been. Yeah. Could have been after credit, could have been before the credit. That's how we could have had. But I know what you're saying. It's too much like Marvel. I wouldn't have cared.
Well, no. The one thing I was actually going to say instead was that's a little bit more to set up than it was in the Marvel movie. Because we're S.H.I.E.L.D. There's other heroes out there. I need you to do this. This is you have to kind of set up, hey, we're this group. We do this. We have these things going on. There's more.
Like I said. It would have been a little bit longer than an after credit. That's why I would have put it at the end of the movie. Have everything go on between the Soldier of Fortune and the Mummy. Yeah. Have it play out exactly. He gets his powers. Then, boom, we are Pandigian. And then this is where you can kind of continue the hype train of like, holy shit, there's the Swamp Thing. Oh my God, he's talking about Dracula. There's Frankenstein. Oh man, here it is. Instead of like what we had, where maybe it's just Ricky, you were way too hyped and this movie didn't live up to the hype. Maybe that's the end of it. But there were things in this movie like the focusing too much on building the universe, like the one we didn't get into a lot was I felt like the characters never developed.
I will be honest, I agree with you on that. There was not a lot of character development.
Like never developed. And like the one thing that like Tom Cruise in this movie, most of his acting in this movie was making surprise faces. That was it. That was it. Like, there were some lines that he had here and there, but his character never really developed. Like, the character that had, to me, the most development, and it wasn't even that much of development because he was the comic relief character, was Jack Johnson. Jack Johnson's character was the only... Jake Johnson was the only one that had the most development, and he didn't even have much development because he was the comic relief.
Well, I'll be honest, I can't 100% agree with you. Tom Cruise's character did have some development. It was minuscule, but it was there.
So he got powers at the end.
No, it's not just that. I mean,
he learned to choose someone else over himself.
Yeah, basically. Isn't that what a lot of our heroes do?
One scene.
Isn't that what most of the heroes do? Realize that it's bigger than myself?
But the thing that made it so minuscule was that usually when that happens, there is build up to it. You get to see the thought process of them fighting with that emotion. She brought it up early that he only, like, here's the bullet points to that kind of how it went down. The beginning, when she said he lasted 15 seconds and only cares about himself, that's number one.
Okay.
Number two, when he saw the vision and was like, tried to throw it back in her face, and she didn't want to go. She didn't believe him. That was number two. And then the ending. 3 points. There was no actual, like, build off of that was sustaining through the movie for me.
I mean, for me, it was them, like, they were the back and forth of not liking each other to sort of liking each other. And you see a glimpse of him liking, like, actually caring about someone when he gives her the shoot. But then he kind of pulls that away.
No, by
saying, "Oh, I thought there was another one."
I thought there was another one. Boom, vanished.
No, I wouldn't say it vanished. It's just like him not like being able to say, "Oh, I do." No, it was to save you. No, I can't admit that. And then it finally, like, you see more so at the end than anything of the development between the two of them.
No, me and you saw two different things there.
Yeah,
because when he said that, the tone of voice he was using and everything said to me, yeah, he really thought there was a second suit, and he didn't even think about you at all.
Yeah, I mean, but how easy is it to say that to someone when you don't want them to actually know how you feel?
Tom Cruise, like, his character felt like he, from the beginning, said, like, wore his, like, this is what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
I could care less. Like, look at the beginning. His dear friend, he cuts open his water and says, well, you can either ride back a day or you can, looks like you got to come with me now.
But that's character development, too.
Looks like you got to come with me now. I mean, I'm not saying there was no character development.
Yeah.
But the character development that they had was so small to where at the end, that reveal for Tom Cruise should have been greater. Should have been greater than it was. I felt like there was a
little bit more than you're seeing, but that's...
Should have been greater than it was. And, like, the one that I would say, like, me saying Jake Johnson's character was being a little bit... I would say the Mummy had more... Mummy had more character development than him.
That I can agree with.
Because we saw her backstory. That's, like, the main reason. Like, this movie was not a good movie in my eyes. And I am honestly, right now, very nervous about this universe that they're setting up.
Well,
because halfway through the movie, I'm like, how are they going to do these other movies? How are they going to connect this? And two, I'm like, holy crap, if this is what they're going to do with this movie, I don't even want to know what they're going to do with the other ones, because it felt like, I'm not saying Tom Cruise is a bad actor. I'm just saying it felt like they went, how do we sell this? We gotta get someone like Tom. We gotta get someone like Tom Cruise. That's what we need. Like, they spent the money on Tom Cruise and Russell Crowe, and then we're like, okay, like Jake Johnson, not as A-listed as Tom Cruise. I was fine with him. Sophia Boutella, I was fine with her.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like the rest of the cast, besides Jekyll, Morton, Jenny, Aminette, and Vale, there was nothing. There was only 5 characters, and out of those 5 characters, I couldn't tell you one that had huge development. That's a problem to me.
I'm not gonna say anyone had huge development. It's not gonna be like Marvel's development.
You gotta have at least one. At least one of those that had huge development.
I'm not saying it was.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they did 100% right in it. I'm not saying they did as wrong as. You and I aren't going to see eye to eye on that.
Not happy with it.
Yeah, I mean, you and I aren't going to see eye to eye on that 100% because I see more development than you did.
Yeah.
That's just perspective.
It's exactly. And then,
And it's fine.
So setting up the universe, the character development, and then that third one of too many genres in there.
Yeah.
Too many.
Like I said, the one thing I'm going to say about the setting up the universe thing, overall, well, I'll just go with this way. Overall, there's things they could have done better in the movie to make it better.
Yeah.
A lot of the stuff I would have been fine with leaving it in. We already talked about what I would take out. But I mean, what would you have done aside from the Marvel Nick Furying it? Let's say that's not an option.
So you're saying just off of what we have now?
Off of what we have now. No, I'm just saying, if you can't Nick Fury it, like throw it at the end and say this is the group, you have to have the Mummy movie. You have to have the Mummy stuff, but you also have to establish this group because this is the universe we're going with. We have to at least establish this group. You have to know about them because Marvel. If you are a Marvel fan,
I would have had
I
would have had Pandigium in the background.
Okay.
I would have had the main beef of the story be on the Mummy and the Fortune, or Nick Morton, the Soldier of Fortune.
Okay.
And then kind of have Pandigium in the background where they're kind of there at first, and you notice them a little more as the movie goes on.
Okay.
To where their presence is there.
And one more thing, you kept harping on why do they not the best time to set up the whole universe. I gotta kind of say setting up the universe with the using set as hey, this is how the whole universe ties in. It's probably your best bet because how else are you gonna tie that universe in?
Explain what you mean.
Set is the god of life after death. As some of them see the evil incarnate in the movie overall, it's a curse from the Egyptian thing. I figured, I thought that was a pretty decent way of tying that all together. To have the Mummy movie, have a cursed person who is supposed to be the living embodiment of Set, and they probably could have done some other better things inside there. That's how I see it as all tied in together. That's why I'm like, okay, I get it. I get how they tied all these parts together. Not all of them, but chunks of them.
I can see that.
Yes.
However, the thing that I'm looking at is part of me feels like, and I don't want to make it seem like, wow, Ricky, you didn't put a lot of thought into this. I think that's too deep of a dive.
Okay.
For the normal person. And I'm not saying oh, Johnny, you dove too deep, but I don't think everyone's going to dive that deep into it.
Okay.
Not everyone's going to take that much steps to get to how it ties in. If you're going to tie something together, you kind of need to throw it out there. You need to put it in their face.
It was. This is the Mummy's curse. You're now the living embodiment of Set, which they've thrown in our face multiple times.
I still don't know with the end scene with him riding off into the desert.
Yeah,
I don't know what he's doing. And I get the whole point of if it was a good movie, I'd be saying, well, I don't know what he's doing. I don't care. But because it's not a solid movie in my case, I'm sitting there going, I don't know how he ties into the rest of it. And it makes me nervous. I look at Bride of Frankenstein in Valentine's of 2019.
Okay.
I don't know what they're going to do. And what makes me even more nervous is this was directed by Kurtzman and Chris Morgan. Those two are produced by them. Those two are going to be producing the next one, which kind of makes me nervous. The only thing that doesn't, and I said directing, I meant producing, is that we never have the same directors we had for this first one. We'll never have right now for the next 1, 2, 3, 4, I think 5 of these movies.
Yeah.
They're the only ones. Bill Condon is the next director we have. And pardon me, that's 3. We have Dracula is going to be Jonathan Williamson, and then Bill Condon is going to be Bride of Frankenstein. Bride of Frankenstein, I'll ask you, how do they fit that in after seeing The Mummy?
After seeing The Mummy?
Where do you go from with Bride of Frankenstein?
Well, the thing was, I didn't notice it like you did, the Frankenstein skull.
Because he had the line on his head,
well,
right?
that's any time they take a brain out of the skull.
But who's the one that has
Yeah,
that.
Frankenstein has
Yeah.
that. But look, I didn't get that from that. I just saw like that's how they extracted the brain out of the skull because he had.
But was I wrong? Like, I'm asking.
Oh, it's possible.
I'm asking honestly. Was I wrong to think that when I saw the line in
Oh, I'm
that
not gonna
bigger skull?
I didn't notice it was bigger. It looked like a normal human skull to me, but I'm not gonna argue because it could possibly be that.
Yeah.
But I noticed the Dracula skull, the hand
See,
of the.
That's the thing. Is it Dracula or
Or
is it just
vampire.
a random vampire?
Exactly, and that's the thing I don't know yet. So honestly, we don't have enough info on much of this to know why we have. Well, my question more so is why do we have a Bride of Frankenstein without an actual Frankenstein movie? So that's the thing I have to wonder first. So
And the thing that also makes me nervous, and I don't mean to cut you off.
no, that's fine.
But one of the things, and a lot of people's reviews have had this said in it,
Yeah,
where it felt like the same point I said, where it felt like we need Tom Cruise to sell this movie. We need that main actor
yeah,
to sell this movie. I don't think they can have just that one actor to sell everything and then Russell Crowe kind of being a side piece.
mm-hmm.
They need more. They need to spend more on the cast because right now
Yeah.
they're going to have the same thing. Johnny Depp is Invisible Man. You've got Angelina Jolie is rumored to be Bride of Frankenstein. Dwayne The Rock Johnson rumored to be the Wolfman. I see those names and I think, are you just throwing money at these actors and actresses to get them on it so that I go just because it's Angelina Jolie? Is that all you're going to do?
See,
I
I'm-
hope not.
I'm hoping not either.
I hope you're actually going to take this universe seriously because I thought you were coming into this, and after this movie, I kind of don't think so anymore.
I'm hoping so they do, but I mean that's what they have to do then is pick the right actors for the right parts too. We had this discussion before. You and I don't agree with the Dwayne The Rock Johnson thing when it comes to Wolfman.
I wouldn't mind. Like, I don't think it'd be a terrible choice.
I just feel like they can probably find someone who can portray the character better, of like a humanized part of the Wolfman, not the Wolfman part, but the humanized part of it. Because I always saw it
Is
as
he too jacked?
no,
Is
maybe
Is he too muscly?
To me,
like
it's-
he's got those pythons.
to me it's less that and more of I've never seen him in a role that's dark like that. As I've always
Comedy.
as I've always felt of the Wolfman. The one, what was it, 2005? We got a Wolfman movie, and any other Wolfman thing. I've watched the old Wolfman from like the 1930s, 1940s. I just don't see his acting as that character. I mean, he could prove me wrong, but it's just let's pick the actors for the roles to make sure. Just like Marvel's been doing it, they've been pretty spot on with the characters they picked, except for Hulk. Until now.
Like, I mean, I'm looking at The Rock, and really the most serious things that he's been in.
Yeah.
I mean, The Fast and the Furious, that's kind of action comedy.
Yeah.
I mean, Ballers, which I know you wouldn't watch because it's sports
Yeah, I don't
agents.
do sports ones,
That's
really.
kind of a TV drama.
Okay.
So that's probably the most serious that he's been in recent. But like,
There's another one I can't remember.
the last thing that I would say would be the most serious thing he's been in is 2015 San Andreas.
Okay.
That was the one with the
Okay, yeah, yeah.
earthquake
Yeah.
in California. And there's going to be a San Andreas part 2, which actually, the one thing that was just announced recently, and we knew this because he was going to be Black Adam in the Black Adam
Yeah.
movie, but he's going to be Black Adam in Shazam.
Yeah.
Black Adam will be in the Shazam movie.
Yeah, exactly.
I know that takes away from The Mummy, but I thought I'd mention it because you brought up Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
Oh, yeah, that's fine.
But the one thing I wanted to get to,
Okay.
we're getting kind of long in the tooth here
Yes.
for this review. Let's start with the show stealer. And before I kind of ask you who you said,
Yeah.
Johnny and I are thinking of the same two. I'm going to be completely honest with you. Whichever one Johnny doesn't say, I'm going to pick. So, Johnny, who are you giving the show stealer award to?
It's really close because as we talked about.
I'm giving it to the other one.
Yeah, I know. And it's just really close because we both agree in different variations that there was not a ton of character development, like I said, in different variations. But I'm giving it to Sophia Boutella as Aminet. Wow, I
As
don't
the
know
mummy.
why. As the mummy. I don't know why I couldn't, my brain blanked on how to say her name. I'm giving it to her. She does have the most character development. I
loved
her menacing looks. Like
that was
it actually sent chills down my spine certain times.
Watching her featurette, and even how she was able to move her body when she was like crawling up the chain.
Yeah.
That was real.
Yeah.
Like even and that's the part I liked about it. Like the plane scene, that was real. Tom Cruise did all of his own stunts.
Yeah.
I just didn't think the movie was that good.
It's just the way she moved, the way she talked, and not just that, like her facial expressions, all of it was just, it creeped me out a bit, and it also gave me I don't know about you, but when she gave some of those menacing stares, like this is how I want it to happen, and this is how it's going.
Very seductive.
Very seductive, and at the same time gave chills down my spine.
She also had that, I got that, she played it perfectly too. That kind of whenever she was trying to coerce Tom Cruise's character, that kind of flirtatious,
yeah, she did that really well too.
I'm going to get you to do whatever, that girl that that's I'm going to get you to do whatever I want just with my look.
Yeah, that girl
that is what she had perfectly down to.
Yeah.
Down to the tooth is what she had.
Even when she had the big gap in her face with the makeup, it's like, damn, she's still pulling that off. That look.
I was very happy that she at least had a nice performance. I'm going to give it to Johnson.
For his Chris Vail?
And the reason why is I feel like he was the best character in this by far. At the beginning, adding that comic relief right away, even as an undead zombie, man.
Yeah.
I just love it. Whether it's New Girl, whether it's Let's Be Cops, whatever I see him in, I just love him in.
He does comedy very well.
He and that's the thing. It's maybe it's because you're like, oh well, Ricky, you're just picking the comedic character, and I got to go with him. He's a Chicago area guy from Evanston, Illinois. Got to throw some love to the Chicago area people when you can. No, I loved it, and we're gonna get more of him because he's brought back to life by Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
Help me, Tom Cruise. I'm dead. I'm a zombie.
I just love how he I think he was more of a specter because he would appear and then disappear.
That's the part I did love though.
Yeah.
When he's talking to him in the mirror, walks around to the other side, doesn't see him, and then looks in the mirror and there he is. That was a cool camera trick.
Yeah, exactly.
That they did.
Because he's not really a zombie. He's not there. He's like a specter. He's like, yeah, I'm going to walk you through this, but we have to do what she says because otherwise it's not going to work out well for either of us. And perfect time, his scenes were the perfect times of comic relief.
Yeah. And I mean, I did like what he brought to the table.
Yeah, exactly.
In a movie I was not that excited about. And that leads us to what we usually end the show with. How many curses you give?
I'm going to let you go first.
I'm going to give it 1 out of 5.
1 out of 5.
I changed my answer because after talking about it with you, I'm even more displeased with it.
Really?
I'm going to give it a 1 out of 5. And the reason I'm doing that is because originally I was going to give it a 2 out of 5.
Okay.
But then I'm like, you know what? It wasn't that good. 1 out of 5. It wasn't I'm 2, I'm being too nice. 2 is too nice. Giving it a 1.
See, you're going to be kind of, I don't know how you're going to feel about my score
Don't
for
give
it
it
then.
a 4. Don't give it a 4.
Oh, I'm giving it a 3 out of 5.
I thought they knew you were going to give it a 3.
I thought it was a fairly decent movie.
That's why I knew you. As soon as you said, I thought it was a pretty good movie, I'm like, he's giving it a 3.
I am. I mean, I would never get it a 4 or 5. It wasn't that high up there.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Would you watch it again?
Yeah.
Would you go to theaters and pay for it again?
One more time, yeah.
Would you buy it on DVD?
It depends on what movies are out.
Okay. Because you said I'd see it again in theaters, which I think you'd be crazy to go do.
I am, though, so we all know that.
I wouldn't go and pay and see this again.
I'd go and see it
Let's
again.
put it this way. Even if I saw it on Netflix, I'd be like, nah, I'll pass.
I would go see it again.
You want to know what it got on Rotten Tomatoes, by the way? 17%.
Damn.
Got a 17%, and the audience score was a 45. So a mixed bag on the audience. However, a 17 on Rotten Tomatoes. I didn't think it was. I wouldn't go see it again. I'm kind of now nervous for the dark universe. at this point, I'm like, why did I get excited for this? I'm kind of regretting that I got hyped up for it because of how much this did not live up to the hype.
Well, let's be fair. Let's give it the same chance you did the DC universe.
BVS, there's only one thing wrong with that.
Really?
I don't have the same connection. I don't have the same connection to the monsters that
I'm just saying,
do Batman.
Let's be fair. Just like I did the same thing with DC.
You know it's bad?
Huh.
When Wonder Woman, a movie in its second week, beats you by 20 million.
Yeah.
In your opening weekend.
But I'm just gonna say, just like those other two movies, or just like not the other two, the other. I'm gonna do the same thing I did with DC. I'm gonna give it 1 to 2 more chances.
Okay.
See how the second one goes.
We'll see how Brightest Frankenstein goes.
Exactly.
We'll see. But this is where
that's me.
This is where we turn it on you guys, like we always do. Let us know what you think down below about anything we talked about in this review. What did you think? How many curses would you give it out of 5? Who was your show stealer? What did you think? Anything we talked about, let us know down below in the description. Make sure to also hit that subscribe button or that follow button if you're listening on YouTube or Blog Talk Radio. I want to thank you guys for watching and listening to this review. We had a great month of May. Want to keep things going, and it is all thanks to people like you who watch and listen to our podcast. But thank you guys again for checking us out, and as always, have a good day, everybody.
I don't know about this, Rick.
Just do it, Morty.
Thank you for watching Most Valuable Podcast video. If you want to watch more of them, just watch them right here. And thank you for watching.